Hello, everybody.
Live from across the world, it's Saturday night with Uncle Dan, the Vinyl Man, and Ricefield Records. Yes, and Bobby may be here later. Yes. We have somebody already. We have Marius.
Marius.
Sorry, I can't read from here. Manny.
Marius. Not Maurice. Marius.
No, it's Manny. It's Manny. I read Marius. I was trying to read that.
Right.
I can't read from here.
Manny.
Hey, bonjour.
Manny, you bad boy.
Okay, so
well,
let's start with new acquisitions.
What do you got?
Hey, how are you, Manny? You tell us how you are. You start first. I want you to start first. I usually start. You start. You go first.
Okay. Hold on a second. Okay. All right. Well, I got this record. This is The Motors.
Oh, yeah.
Tenement Steps. This was very, 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 shit, I hate when that happens. Very popular. This falls under power pop. And there's only one good song on this record. The rest are crap. Absolute crap. And the song that is great on this record is Love and Loneliness. It's a real power pop song. And this record was produced by Jimmy Iovine, or Iovine, Iovine. You might remember him from American Idol, the bald-headed guy who helped the kids get popular. And this is a cutout. See that? Look at that. That's more of a. They really. I can't sell this record.
Cutouts have no value, but cutouts can be. Sometimes you get them and they're old, but they've never been played.
Correct.
So I collect to listen. I don't collect to, for anything else, So cutouts is fine by me. But I'm a heretic and a heathen and, a Philistine and all that. I'm so much of a Philistine, I might be a Philistine.
Here's another record. That's another one-hit wonder on it. And the theme seems to be black and white. And this is Marty Balin. You might remember him from the Jefferson Airplane. He's dead. And he's got one song on here that is Hearts. He had one hit, Hearts. Do you remember that?
No. 80s? What was that?
When was that? 81.
I pretty much missed all of the 80s and most of the 90s in terms of pop music.
He produced this.
Matter of fact, I've missed almost everything in terms of pop music.
It's a terrible record. Absolutely terrible record. Now
we ought to do something sometime about albums that have one good song on them.
Yeah, that's your show too.
That you held on to. That is the thing that a lot of times I'll look at stuff and I'll be like, well, do I really want to listen to this? And I'll listen. It's like, yeah, it's got one halfway decent thing on it. The rest of it's just terrible. So many people had one decent song in them, and then it was gone. I doubt that you liked it at all, but I like the Marshall Tucker song, Heard It in a Love Song.
Okay.
I doubt that you like it at all, but the rest of that album is just completely sucked. I have a theory.
That Can't You See song? That's a good song. Can't You See?
Okay.
That's a good song.
Yeah, that's about it. But after that, of course that beats Leonard Skinner, which the only bad thing the only bad thing that happened to Leonard Skinner is that some of them survived that fucking crash.
They were discovered by Al Cooper, Leonard Skinner. Did you know that?
True.
It's true.
Yeah. What an idiot, man. It's like, I don't know, prog rock, Leonard Skinner. I'm not sure, I might rather listen to prog rock. It's less aggressively stupid than Leonard Skinner.
I should recommend some prog rock. You should do your 5 favorite prog rock records. That would be a great video.
I'm not sure I could get to 5. I'm not sure I can get to 1. But
what about Tommy? That's prog rock.
Even Tommy? Some of Pink Floyd just seems less like prog rock and more like rock. Tommy, I'm a little less, I'm like, I don't know.
What about Thick as a Brick or Aqualung? Those are prog rock.
Aqualung, oh my God, I hate that. I did a video about hating it. Did you not see that? So freaking pretentious. Oh my God. The pretension is dripping from that thing. Is Manny looking for me now to kill me?
How about listen?
It's actually pronounced Philistine. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay, so great album. Also, great albums with one dog, or an album that has only got one good song and you really want to throw it out because all of the songs are crappy, but you don't. But is that worth a video? Do you think people would watch that?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think so. Okay, next up is Randy Newman, 12 Songs, another black and white record. Do you like Randy Newman?
I'm okay by it. Although right now I can't remember a damn thing. He was kind of fun, as I recall. I mean, I never bought an album by him.
Really?
No.
Really? This has got Ry Cooder on it, Clarence White from the Byrds.
Yeah,
from the Byrds. Jim Gordon, who recently passed away, who was convicted of murdering his mother with a hammer.
Yeah.
And of course, this was produced by Lenny Waronker, who was a big producer back in the day, and Jack Nietzsche.
There's nothing Nietzsche couldn't teach about the raising of the wrist.
Yep.
Socrates himself was permanently pissed. John stood middle of his own free. Sorry.
What did you get?
Okay, well, I drove to Cloquet.
Wait, where?
Cloquet, Minnesota.
How do you spell that?
Cloquet. It's not too far from here.
It's like bouquet.
It's like, well, yeah, it's French. There are a number of French names. There was some French exploration along here, and so some French names, show up here. Fond du Lac, that sort of thing. Mille-Lac, yeah. Mille-Lac's the big lake. There's the big lake near here.
Yeah.
Is French, of course. So I drove to Cloquet and I picked up a Garrard 0100 turntable. And it was cheap, although it needs some work. I've got it running at the right speed, but I've got a vicious hum in it that I haven't figured out.
Is that the same turntable that's in your latest Jackie Gleason video?
No, that was a different Garrard, which was even cheaper. That's a Garrard Type A70. So the 0100 was interesting because it has what's called a pantograph arm on it. So it still has the head shell. You've got the tone arm, and the head shell pivots at the end, and you have a secondary little guide arm there. And as the tone arm goes across the record, the head shell is supposed to pivot to maintain the appropriate stylus geometry.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's kind of cool. I don't know. The mechanism is heavy, of course, and so I think you lose, all the benefits of it. Good linear tracker will outperform it. And I think that a good tone arm is, I don't think there's enough in general to make a difference. You know, it depends on the album stylus. You know, I mean, that's, I think, going to be more of a, you know, but a decent tone arm, decent head shell, decent tone arm, decent cartridge, decent stylus, properly lined. You know, there's just not enough to make that pantograph idea necessary. Anyway, it was interesting, and I'll do a video about it, because I got there. I tried to go earlier in the week, and the guy emailed and said, well, or messaged me and said, well, I can't go today. Or he said, I'm sorry I didn't respond earlier. Had to take my father to the hospital. So he finally said he could meet yesterday afternoon, and I went up, and he told me that his father had died.
Yeah.
And so that was really sad. And I asked, well, how old was he? And he said, well, he was 79. He would have turned 80 on September 4. Ugh. And September 4 is my birthday. Ugh. So, and having lost my brother Roy last year, and I'm down, there, out of 8 members of my birth family, there are 2 of us left. So we talked about that. But anyway, a nice guy. And, I got the turntable in a box.
In the original box?
In the original box.
Ooh, we like that.
Yeah, $60. So, and has a nice short cartridge with it, M9091, I believe.
Yeah.
So not a great short cartridge, but a decent short cartridge.
How's the tip of the stylus?
Stylus, I don't think it was ever used. I don't think it was ever.
You lucky.
I don't think it was ever installed. I don't think the tone arm or the turntable was ever installed.
Holy shit! That is like new old stock.
Yeah, I think it's new old stock. I looked at it and I don't see any evidence that it was ever used.
Damn.
Now the grease had dried up in it, but anyway, he had some albums there and he had no idea what they were. But I got this one from him. Basically, I gave him $2 for it.
Very nice. Jimmy Smith at the organ.
Yeah.
And what's that special 50 cents? Huh.
Yeah, it was originally sold for 50 cents originally. But it's a compilation from some off label, Pentagon Records. And I played it and it's fun. I mean, Jimmy Smith is just fun, right? I don't know who's on here or anything. I'm going to try to figure some stuff out, but it's just really, this is not
Look at that text. Look at that. That is wild.
Yeah.
There's no tracks on it. Yeah. Oh, wait. Where are the tracks?
They're on the front cover.
Strange love. It's a sin to tell. It's a sin to tell a lie. Well, that's duh. Lost in loveliness. Now, does he sing, Jimmy Smith, or does he just play?
No, he doesn't on. Well, I listened to one side. I haven't listened to the other side. He does sing some. I've got one Hoochie Coochie Man here where he has some vocals on there. He had a good voice, not a great voice, I mean, Hoochie Coochie Man, he's not Muddy Waters. Right. On the other hand, he's a better vocalist than you are.
That Hoochie Coochie is a better vocalist than me. Did you say?
What's that?
Did you say he's a better vocalist than me?
Yeah. Yeah.
One for David.
Sorry.
Hoochie Coochie is a very popular theme amongst the African American singers.
Oh yeah. Hoochie Coochie is fun. Anyway, so I got that, but it's hard to, I listened to it and I'm like, well, how much of this is the album? And how much is the pressing and how much of it was the recording? It sounds, it has a real down home, down in the basement sound, but some of the stuff might have. I mean, Jimmy recorded a ton of stuff, but great. This I did a video on, and speaking of cutouts, and some, no, you're misspelling it. Hoochie. You leave out the T's. And yeah, kind of. I am the hoochie coochie man. I'm not your hoochie coochie man. Some asshole said I did a video on it, and some asshole said, "Well, Dan, you forgot to say whether Jackie Gleason sang or what." And
that was me. That asshole was me.
Oh, were you the asshole? Oh, gee, okay. I'd forgotten who the asshole was who said that to me.
Does he sing?
No, he doesn't sing.
What's he do?
He, there is a debate about that. Some people say he wrote the checks. He had the idea, but his first album, Music for Lovers, was on the Billboard Top 10 for 153 weeks.
You said that.
Still holds the record for longest on the Billboard Top 10.
More than Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon or the Beatles.
Yeah.
Go figure.
He sold like 10 million. He sold like 10 million albums altogether.
Yeah. You should do a needle drop.
Well, I did.
Yes, but it's very unclear what Jackie's role was.
Oh. Well, I thought that, I had thought my audience would be, culturally aware. Obviously not. But yeah, some people said he conducted, although he could not read music. He did not play an instrument. So.
See that? You have to remember there are only about 14 albums ever made by the Jackie album.
14 albums ever made by the Jackie album.
By that time.
Yeah, I mean, when the first one came out in 53, there weren't many albums out. So he didn't have all that much. But still, he sold like 10 million albums. And they've made CDs out of it. They've re-released them on CDs, So it's like, yeah, And, you go on, I went on YouTube, and people are like, oh, I remember this. I used to watch, and it's like, yeah, my dad loved watching the Jackie Gleason show. And so, I watched it too, a lot of my memories are, the June Taylor dancers. So, yeah. Hey, Manny, don't smack talk the great one. Okay. Come on, man.
And he's a record company marketing executive. He knows. Manny knows.
Yeah. What else I'm giving Manny a hard time.
What is that record back there with the guitar on?
Well, let me get to that later.
Okay.
By the way, this was a cutout. So I don't know.
We got Wyoming Dave from last week.
Yeah. Hey, Wyoming Dave. Anyway, this was a cutout. And I was saying, I don't think this sucker had been played. It was in pristine condition. Capitol recording sounds good. So I got another Doc Severinsen album.
Look at that cover, very experimental there. What is that? Yeah. Is that like a piece of sculpture or something?
I'm not sure. It kind of looks like that. Yeah, it looks like some modern art,
arty stuff there. And Doc, it's a gatefold too.
It's a gatefold. There's Doc as a young man.
Wow, look how young he is with that mustache.
Yeah, that's stash, man. Although it has Monday on it, so it must be late 60s. So lots of text on this thing. The Command Records loved Doc. They loved Doc.
Got it in the right order. Yes. I want to see. Manny went to high school, went to Catholic camp with Frankie Fontaine's kids in '65.
Oh,
they acted like spoiled brats. Who's Frankie Fontaine? Do you know?
Man, the name is familiar, although I can't.
Wait, open up the gatefold. Wait.
Oh, I did. You just weren't paying attention. You weren't looking.
Wasn't. I'm so sorry.
Damn it! What are we paying for?
It's like a.
So yeah, ton of text on there.
I'll prorate the bill. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah, I won't pay it. Yeah. The musical arrangements, by the way, were by Dick Hyman.
I know David Hyman. I went to camp and to Rhode Island School of Design with Dick Hyman's son, David Hyman.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing when you're born where I was, out in the country, and you
don't meet New Yorkers. You don't rub shoulders.
I didn't meet any famous people or signs of famous people or anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, next we'll get to this one. This is a new one. Well, it's not new, but this was new. Zephaniah Ohora, This Highway.
Okay.
And he's out of New Hampshire, and this is a country album. It's country, but it released 2017, and it is superb. When it was released, people said, "Man, this sounds like it dropped out of 1963." It ain't modern country, and it has some great stuff on here. He has a very good, smooth voice. The band was great. I learned about it because Jim Campolongo, whom I have mentioned a number of times, a great guitarist. Jim Campolongo was one of the producers, along with another guitarist, Luca Benedetti. So they were two of the producers, and this was this was basically a self-promoted album, but got great reviews, and it's great. He plays in New York City.
No kidding. Where, at the clubs?
He plays in the clubs in New York. There is a country scene in New York, and he plays there. It's a real hipster country scene. But yeah, the first song on here, "Way Down in My Soul," is actually about heroin. So, but it's got just great stuff. "Take Your Love Out of Town," one of his, and "This Highway," the theme song. Zephaniah Ohora with the 18 Wheelers, and he does Something Stupid, which Frank Sinatra did.
I love that song.
Yeah,
they have to go and spoil it all by saying something stupid. Like, I love it.
Yeah, it's a great song. He does a great version of it on here.
How's his voice? How's his singing voice?
His singing voice is excellent. He has a very smooth, very, very fine singing voice. Not a great big singing voice, but. And one thing I like about him is he's not hooting and hollering and stuff like that, and he's not twanging like he's born down, in Tubby Holler, Arkansas. Like, none of these motherfuckers were, pretty much, all. That's one of the things that gets me about modern country music is most of them don't actually talk like that, right. And they talk like they were born in, fucking Southeast Missouri in 1957, as I was.
He looks like he's wearing a bolo tie, and he looks Spanish. He doesn't look country.
He does look Spanish. Not a bolo tie, but yeah, he looks Hispanic. Ohora, I believe, is an Irish name, though.
He looks like John Travolta in
a little bit, yeah.
Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah. I follow him on Twitter, and he has responded to me, which makes me feel good. But I've been listening to that since 2017. I bought it on iTunes, so he got no money off of it. But I decided because after Jason Aldean and his sucky song, "Don't Try That in a Small Town," and I thought, there's actually decent country out there, and he's somebody who's doing decent country, and
that was Uhura, Manny.
Uhura.
The U.
Nichelle with an N Nichols, who was such a gorgeous woman. My God,
gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Speaking of gorgeous,
well, I'm not done. I'll tell you when it's time. Come on, man. So this is one that I wanted to save to last because this gets
that's Japanese.
No, Takamitsu. So you must know him, right? Since he's Japanese, I assume you've met him.
He's coming over for brunch later today.
No, that's too bad because he's dead. Toro Takamitsu.
His ashes are coming over for lunch today. Look at that coral island. Beautiful coral. Beautiful. Yomiuri Nippon Symphony Orchestra. Very nice. You are really opening up your horizons, Dan.
No, I've been buying things like this. You just didn't know that. So
I didn't know.
Yeah. So this is Coral Island for soprano and orchestra. Water music, vocalism, AI love, vocalism I, not AI, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
For magnetic tape. And that is, so side A is a little weird. Side B is deeply weird. He was very influenced by John Cage. So, songs I sing on the Jackie Gleason show. How about that?
I'm getting like such an education of Frankie Fontaine and Jackie Gleason today. It's just.
Yeah. And Takamitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bet you didn't know Takamitsu. Yeah. Just, even though he's Japanese, and I thought you knew everything about Japan.
Nah, just a thimble.
I'm so disappointed. I can't tell you how disappointed I am.
What is that box on the on your couch there? What is that?
Oh.
Is that a fuzz box?
It's a tuner.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
So.
Is it time? Is it time?
Ugly rockers who hooked up with beautiful women.
Yes.
Let's do that. So
okay.
That'll take about 2 minutes.
Okay.
So basically, all of them. Basically, any rocker who hooked up with a woman, I mean, let's look at the Who. Pete Townsend is one seriously ugly son of a buck. I mean, Pete Townsend, if he hooks up with a human, he's coming up in the world, right? And in terms of appearance.
Yes.
So, and this is one I'd like to throw out to the studio audience there.
And here we got our first one. He's right. Wyoming Davis' wife, Peter Wolf and Faye Dunaway. That was an amazing combination. I was like, whoa, what a gorgeous woman. And what a schlub, Peter. A schlub.
So I mean, but it's my theory is that, for the most part, any rocker, any woman, the woman is better looking than the rocker, typically by orders of magnitude.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Eric Clapton, who is also not an attractive man. Eric Clapton is a little fucking goofy looking. Patty Boyd, I never quite got all of the lust for her.
Me neither. Kind of average looking. She was an extra in one of the Beatles movies.
Yeah, and I just
work, Manny, work.
Yeah. I was like, well, what the hell? I mean, she's okay. I mean, she's really, look, I ain't kicking her out of bed for eating crackers, right? But it was like, you people are about, at one another's throat over this. Now, George Harrison, was better looking than Clapton. Low fucking bar, right? I wouldn't say that Harrison was, terribly attractive, but he was definitely better looking than.
How about Rick Ocasek of the Cars and Paulina Horoskova?
Well, you see, I actually looked him up, and I've forgotten him again.
His neck. I mean, we're talking about this. If this was a pencil, that would be his neck.
Hide his neck.
Homely guy.
Yeah.
How about Billy Joel and Christy Brinkley? You love Billy Joel, Christy Brinkley.
Billy Joel,
the only guy from Long Island.
You know, just to make sure that you know, people don't think that my hatred for prog rock is, you know, leaves nothing else to hate. There is Billy Joel too, and you know, we could say, you know, who's uglier, Billy Joel or Eric Clapton, and it's a close fucking call, man. Or I'm going to say either one of them's got Pete Townsend beat. But you know, again, God damn it, boy. Whoa, ugly. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Now we have, of course, the example of one of the most beautiful women of the last 50 years or so, or 40 years, Julia Roberts.
Yes.
Absolutely lovely, and ended up with Lyle Lovett. I have to give Lyle a break on that, though.
How so?
Well, for one thing, I mean, she was a bigger star than Lyle Lovett, right? By miles.
A movie star.
Yeah, she was she was just a bona fide movie star. So her hooking up with Lyle, it's not like, I mean, for the most part, you think, yeah, you know, you guys are ending up with good-looking women because you're a rock star. You know, Lyle was popular, but not a rock star. You know, he's not. You know, I don't think Lyle owns his own private jet or anything like that, right? He ain't buying his own islands. Yes, he wears Armani suits and cowboy boots. But and cowboy hats, but he's not that rich. So I kind of want to give him a break for that. Also, Lyle is really cool. I like Lyle Lovett.
Okay.
So, and Rodin Sonata, I think, came out of that relationship, which is a great album. That's something you know, it's like I think of somebody like Lyle Lovett with, you know, albums like Joshua Judges Ruth and Rodin Sonata and stuff like that.
Yes, I agree. Todd Rundgren and Bibbit Buell. Now, Bibbit was also with other rock stars too, but with Todd, they raised the actress because it's a long story. But Todd Rundgren and Bibbit Buell, I agree, Grant. I got one for you, and that is Axl Rose and Stephanie Seymour.
Axl Rose. Hey, I got a story about Axl Rose. You want to hear my long-winded story about
Stephen?
That's true, but that's true about them being better-looking men. But man, they ain't as cool as Lyle.
Let's hear your story.
Okay, so back when I was at my major firm, my old firm, we were fairly big law, and one of our clients was a large airline, one of the major airlines.
Okay.
One of the ones that's still in business. So I won't mention who it is. Anyway, they got sued by an employee who was alleging sexual harassment by a coworker. So during her deposition, my colleague at the time was Karen, a woman named Karen, who was not at all Karen. Karen was taking her deposition, and they got around to the topic of the plaintiff employee's boyfriend. Because she was asked who had she talked to about her damages, you know, about the incident. Tell us who you've told about the incident. Tell us whom you've told about, you know, the emotional distress you've suffered. And the name that came up was her boyfriend, Axl Rose.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And Karen was rather fascinated by this because this was up in Seattle. And she thought that Axl Rose had another girlfriend. But, you know, rock star, you could say, okay. And the woman also was allegedly, the plaintiff was allegedly very, very very, very Christian, very religious, but was dating Axl Rose, she said. So we asked for, in Discovery, asked for, photographs, text, anything with Axl Rose. And she said, well, it was all by phone. And,
it was all what?
All by phone,
Okay.
and I think that they, that's a phone, and she didn't produce anything. So then we started thinking that there might be something a little wrong with the gal, right?
Stalker?
Well, just hallucinating, coming up with this idea that she wasn't all there. And that would tend to, there was a question as to whether the alleged sexual harassment had occurred. The alleged harasser was an African-American man. And he was like, man, I don't talk to any white women, at work, because I don't want to get, accused of this. So I never, I saw her, I had to interact with her a little bit, but that was it. So anyway, then the question became, how do we get in touch with Axl Rose? And can we get Discovery from Axl Rose? And one of our associates, her first name, I will say, was Nashra. I will not say Nashra.
Okay.
Indian woman. She was not quite the size of my hand. She was petite. She was tiny. Very petite woman with the world's biggest eyes. And she had this habit when she talked to you, she'd come up to me and get within about 3 inches of me, put her hand on my forearm and look up at me with these gigantic eyes, which was like, Nasha, could you back off? It's like, but Nasha was, she was a good attorney anyway. Well, she managed to get to Axl's, one of Axl's attorneys.
Okay.
And the guy said, tell you what, I'll go ask Axl. Send me a photograph of the gal.
Okay.
Your name, tell me when this was supposed to be.
Okay.
And we'll get back to you.
Okay.
So little time goes past. Nasha gets a call from the lawyer. And lawyer says, well, Axl says, no, not, he would remember that. And it has never happened, and it ain't happening now. And this is all nonsense. And then he said, but Axl does think, Nashra, that he knows you.
And
so we harassed Nashra about that for years.
Gotcha. Did they hook up, or that was just a joke?
No, Nashra was like, like, I guess she felt duty bound to tell Karen, Nashra was an associate, and she felt duty bound to tell Karen, who was the partner.
Yeah.
And of course that led to everyone else in the firm giving Nashra a hard time, and holiday party comes around and say, hey, Nashra, can you get Axl here to, to provide the entertainment, play for the party? Because I had a band at the firm, and we played at the firm holiday party.
What happened to the witness? The witness you were deposing? Did you just ask her to leave? Just said thank you very much?
Well, I mean, the deposition had occurred. The woman had been deposed. I mean, this all took a period of time after the woman had been deposed during the pendency of the lawsuit.
Gotcha.
I'm sure that the case settled. It was one that, I don't know what, and I wasn't working directly on it. I did some work for that client, but I never worked on that case. So I have no idea, and I couldn't tell you what was in the client's mind anyway. That would be revealing client confidences. But, you know, just looking at it from the outside, I'd say, good Lord, what a case to settle, because, you know, you have to, I mean, sometimes you have these cases and people don't get it. They say, well, that sounds crazy and all, but you have to go in and you have to say that to the jury.
Right.
And, you know, you always run the risk that you're going to, you know, anger the jury. And we can all sit around here and say, well, no, it's not. But, you know, you know, I don't know what the gal, I don't know what the, you know, I saw her photo and she looked absolutely sincere. And she apparently at deposition was absolutely sincere at deposition and came across, because, you know, it wasn't like, you know, I mean, you know, if I were to start talking about, you know, my torrid love affair with Taylor Swift, for example, people would just be rolling around laughing, right?
Right.
This woman was, you know, not likely, but, you know, it was like, well, maybe. And she seemed so sincere about it, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And no, I turned, by the way, for those who were wondering, I turned Taylor down. I just didn't want to have that, you know, that song about me come up later. So I had to reject her.
Wise choice.
It was, yeah, I have no regrets about that. But anyway, so yeah, that was funny. So that would have been one to say, you know, say to the opposing counsel, look, you know, we're not going to make any, you know, we go to trial, we're not going to make a deal about it, but we're going to ask her about her boyfriend, Axl Rose, and we won't say anything about it. You know, I mean, the thing to do would be just to ask the questions about it, you know, bring it out, and then just, you know, not hammer it. But,
right.
You know, you're still running the risk that you know, you have a big company with money and, you know, he said, she said thing. And the African American gentleman who, you know, I mean, we had to look at it this way too. It was like the African American gentleman who allegedly said those things was like, you know, I guess just this big burly guy, you know, and just, you know, there was no indication that he was anything other than a great guy. But, you know, juries out of that was in federal court in the Western District of Washington. Juries are drawn from throughout the Western District of Washington,
right.
which extends over into across the mountains into Eastern Washington, actually. And so you can get some conservative juries. So,
have you ever served in a jury?
Never even been called.
I have. In San Francisco.
I've never even been called for jury duty.
It was the case.
Usually they won't seat a lawyer, but sometimes lawyers get seated. We had one of our colleagues, one of my colleagues, Paul was seated one time and served on a jury, and then got done. And it was not a murder trial or anything like that. It was, I can't remember what it was. And he served as he was the foreperson of the jury. And he came back, you know, after it, you know, we all just, you know, queried him at great length. We had a lunch meeting where everybody, you know, asked Paul questions, and he talked about his experience. Very important for lawyers to do that, very fun for lawyers to do that. But I've never served on a jury. So. Okay, back to the topic. Ugly rockers who hooked up with beautiful women. And
yes.
Axl Rose is no beauty either. I mean,
no. How about Keith Richards and Anita Pallenberg?
Yeah, Keith. I'm sorry, Keith also not an attractive man. And so yeah, and he hooked up with a woman. She was better looking than him.
Anita Pallenberg, beautiful woman.
Yeah. Well, and you know, Mick Jagger and Jerry Hall, right?
There were others. There was also the Cuban, his Cuban wife from the early 70s. I forget her name. Yes, many wives.
Yeah. But Jerry Hall, I thought was she was the model, right? And
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's the value of power. You know, and they said, you know, Dan, you start playing guitar and
Bianca Jagger. Yep. What about the British? What about what's his name? British, and he was with the other British model and the Libertines, the guy from the Libertines with the heroin problem, and she was beautiful. Marianne Faithfull and Mick Jagger. That's true. But there are some of you that think that Mick Jagger was ugly. I don't think he was ugly. I don't think Rod Stewart was ugly either. But each his own. Men judging men.
Yeah, I have a harder time, recognizing when when you get somebody who's really out of the, off the charts in one direction or another, I can usually pick it out.
Here we go. This was beautiful. Rod Stewart.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. No. I mean, look, Rod Stewart is not Britt Eklund.
No. He hooked up with Britt Eklund. Look at this. Man of many voices. She used to be married to Peter Sellers. Yeah. That's true.
Peter Sellers was not the most attractive man in the world either, but he was so freaking funny.
Charming.
Yeah. So, actually, this has been a more productive topic than I thought it would be.
I'm telling you. And we're getting help from the studio audience.
Yeah. Who else out of the studio audience? Who else?
Who's the guy from the Libertines who's hooked up with that the British supermodel? Come on, guys. Come on. Research. I need my research team working on this.
Do you guys not have internet? Come on. You watch it on your phones or something?
Concerto Buddy is here for the nudity. You have nudity on your guitar, Dan.
Oh, that's right.
You did.
There you go.
Asked, as they say in the legal team, asked and answered. Right there. Cheesecake. Asked and answered. Concert Buddy, you happy now? Okay, what do we got here? Pete Doherty. That's right, Pete Doherty. And what was the woman's name, Manny? What was her name?
Here's more.
That's beautiful. Who is that? That's a beautiful, beautiful young lady there. Beautiful.
I have no idea. That's just stuff like that.
Show us the neck. Show us the neck of that guitar.
Yeah, this is the
best. Here you go, folks. This is a Ricefield Records first world premiere. We all know Dan's last name. Dan O'Caster.
The Gunter Dan O'Caster. Yeah.
This is what being an attorney, these are some of the perks of being an attorney in the United States.
Yeah, you could buy $100 guitar and put a $20 decal on and put a $20 decal on the headstock. Yeah, I bought the guitar and I started cleaning it was a Spectrum brand.
Yes.
Yes. And I started cleaning the headstock. It was filthy. And the name started flaking off. And so I was like, I got to put something on there, and I wasn't going to put Fender or anything like that on there. So I got one made with my name.
Pete Doherty's girlfriend's name, I don't think they ever married, was Kate. Supermodel in the UK, named Kate. Also Johnny Depp. She also hooked up with Johnny Depp. What's her name? Don't make me go to the internet and look this up, folks. Guess I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
And Johnny Depp, man, I'll tell you what, he's one of those guys he was a pretty boy back in the day, and man, he just looks freaking weird now.
I like him in 21 Jump Street.
I like Johnny Depp in Dead Man, the Jim Jarmusch film. That was a great film.
Sure.
That's a great film.
Kate, wasn't it Kate? I think it's Kate Moss.
Kate Moss, okay.
Pete Doherty and Kate Moss. There we go. No, not Mossad. That's for Deese. Deese is on the Mossad. Oh, there you go. A correction. Did you move yet, Concert Buddy? I know you were in the middle of moving. Okay, we done with this topic?
Well, let's think. Anybody else come to mind? I mean, Dylan and, Bob Dylan.
You did. No, we're not talking about Bob Dylan.
We're not talking about Bob Dylan. Oh, here's one for you. Here's a question for you. This is the most controversial one in Ricefield. Of course, we also have to say Ricefield and Mrs. Ricefield, right?
I married a Japanese supermodel.
But what about in terms of looks?
Yes.
John Lennon and Yoko Ono.
Well, she was kind of, back in the day, she was kind of cute. She was kind of cute.
Kind of attractive.
Huh? But, when they posed naked on the two virgins, gotcha. Somehow the hairy bush just didn't translate very well.
Well, I thought she was fairly attractive back in the day. And there's one where, oh man, the voice didn't help her.
Did you ever see Chuck when she was screaming on stage with Chuck Berry? Did you ever see that footage? I think it was on the Mike Douglas show, and Chuck Berry, his face was just like, oh my God, just couldn't fathom it. But then again, Chuck Berry did My Ding-a-ling, so the scales of justice evened out.
Chuck Berry was twisted son of a buck by all accounts.
True.
I mean, he did pay off on the cameras in the bathrooms at.
Oh man, you're so opinionated. You're a screaming demon from the East. I need to read these comments before I highlight them. Anyhow, so here's another topic for you because, a week in rice. That's me. That's me, what I did this week. You don't want to talk about that? Okay.
I'd like to find a different way of phrasing it. Especially when we go from, nudity and John and Yoko lying in bed together. By the way,
yes,
John Lennon and John Lennon gave Eric Clapton a run for the money for ugliness. And
okay.
I'd say, John Lennon, Ringo Starr, I'm choosing Lennon as the uglier of the two.
Barbara Bach, Ringo Starr and Barbara Bach.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about your week.
Well, I'm working on a new video, and it's all about the different record grading systems in Japan, of which there are many, many, many. So they don't really follow the Discogs thing in this country. They kind of invent their own. So they have different letter systems, different number systems, and it's like a Tower of Babel. In fact, there's dozens of different grading systems in Japan. So I'm working on that. And then earlier this week, the missus and I went to an area called Kawagoe. And Kawagoe is a really old part of Saitama. And after the big fire in Tokyo, after the earthquake, they built Kawagoe. And it's kind of like this town that's kind of frozen in time. And they've got old 50s storefronts there. And I went to a record cafe called Ray No Records. And this record cafe was pretty cool. They serve liquor and food and sandwiches. And they got a record store in the same place. And it's kind of like a lifestyle thing. It's not like Tower Records. It's more like the owner of the store has chosen to choose what he's selling. That was my week in review.
Well, that's good. So long as it doesn't get into anything sort of,
No, nothing.
Yeah, nothing. That's not.
Wanky panky.
So.
Yes.
Yeah. Well. Anything else? I was reminded. And I keep mentioning this. AudioscienceReview.com. that does where they do scientific tests of products. So Smack Talk cords and cables. We were talking earlier about internet access and how you have, going into your building, you have vintage turntable tweaks.
Yes. Yes. For our final few moments, what is it? Give me some vintage turntable tweaks, because you own so many turntables.
Oh man, I don't know. The tweaks, I mean, I don't know that there are real tweaks to use. Make sure I'm kind of getting into the, matching turntables and cartridges. Like I got that old Gerard Type A70, which has a pretty crude tone arm on it. It's not bad.
I think you match cartridge to amp, not cartridge to turntable.
No.
I just saw it this week, Mion. It's good. And you're collaborating with him lately. You don't collaborate with me, but you collaborate with this guy. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Well, that guy knows something.
Concert buddy?
No, the other person.
Which guy? Manny? What are you talking
about? Mion Tokyo.
Mion.
Mion Tokyo. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, of course he'd
wait a second. That's the white guy. Yes, I know who he is. He's a white guy, and he's like, I can't tell who he is. Is he in the United States, Chance, or is he in Japan? It's really unclear. Seems like he's in the United States, and he's partnering with this store in Japan. Let me know. Buddy has eclectic taste. He does. You have eclectic taste, Manny, too. Manny, you have an eclectic taste in writing comments in other people's channels. And I'm talking about that James guy. We need to talk about that. Okay, where were you? I digressed. I have to communicate. I'm communicating with people.
I thought you were Jewish, not Italian. All you East Coast people seem to talk with your hands.
We do. Manja.
Loudly and too fast. And aggressively. But that's that's your East Coasters for you. Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, no, it is important to match the cartridge to the turntable.
Yes.
Like the old A70 I got has it's kind of a clunky tone arm. It's fairly heavy, and you don't want you can't put a tone arm that's going to track at some really wispy thing. You can't put a Shure type, Shure V15 type 4 on there.
Yes.
And expect it to track right. So I've got a Shure M44E on there, which is what it came with.
Yes.
And that tracks from 1.75 to 4 grams. I have it set at 2.5 grams right now. But and I probably should bump it up to like 3, but it seems okay at that. And, that works well. But yeah, I mean, I keep finding that, there are, like, I bought a Grado blue some time ago, Grado Prestige blue.
Yeah.
And I'd been reading good things about it. I thought, man, it's got really, and look at the specs on that baby. I bought it and I tried it out. And at first I liked it, but then I got really tired of it. And I decided it was too bassy. Some people could say it's too dark, but dark is, that's a synesthetic term, of course. But it seemed to me to have too much emphasis in the bass range. And so I tried it on different turntables. I tried it on a Pioneer PL12 D2.
Yeah.
A nice vintage, turntable. I tried it on my Sanso SR525, which I love. Didn't like it on either of those. I tried it on a realistic ELAC Miracord 45. and it was just way too bassy on that. And I finally put it on a Torrens TD-165. And it's like, oh, finally, it sounds good.
One question, two questions. Around how many turntables do you own, and how do you store them, and how do you organize them so that you can take them out and do these adjustments?
I've got about 70. I have a bunch of shelves, and I have them on shelves, and I just take them off the shelves. They're down in my basement. Most of them are down in my basement.
Wow.
So I've got a bunch of shelves and just have them on shelves. I have some stacked on top of others, I have to admit.
You got to photograph that. Really do. People would like.
If they'll hold it, I've got them. If they'll hold another one, I'll stack them. And I usually don't stack the ones that that I think I'm going to use much anymore. But and what I really do is I'll take, I'll go back and I'll take a few in and out, but there's some I haven't played in a while. For a while, I have some Garrard Type A's, which are before the A70, which look like something that are out of a podiatrist's office or something like that.
Yeah.
They're really funky looking, and they look like an old vintage washing machine or something.
Wow.
Those sound surprisingly good. Despite the kind of crudity of them, they sound surprisingly good. Idler Drive, they have a very warm sound, and I found that I tried for the heck of it. I had a spare head shell around. I bought a turntable that for nothing, next to nothing, that I was going to repair, and ended up the motor was shot and just wasn't worth replacing the motor. But it had an Audio-Technica AT3600L on it, which is nice. And I threw one of those on one of the Type A's I have on that head shell, and put it on that Type A, and I was like, man, this just sounds great. So that's again, sort of a matching there, right. I wouldn't put, again, you're something like the Type A's, you really need like 2.5 grams for those as a minimum. So you don't want to put, there are a lot of Schurers, Empires that, just won't work there.
Right. What's a Type A?
The Type A, Garrard Type A, old turntable. It has an adjustable tone arm, vertical tracking force, but it's really crude. I mean, it really is one that comes out of an older design. Look it up, the Garrard Type A. They're very cool. But
have you seen those lucite basses on turntables, or is that just is that a joke, or do they add anything to? You don't know. Yeah. They look nice.
Yeah, and they have weight, they have mass. Lucite is not going to be terribly resonant, so it's probably okay. Hey there.
Well, Dan, it's about that time.
Yeah. So anyway, the tweaks are, I just think, I don't know. I got this record cut, and I went on Audio Karma and said, hey, what do you think with this? With this cool Grado Laboratory Series tone arm. And, here's the one that really gets me. I bought an old Sears Silvertone. It was an ELAC Miracord, but branded Sears Silvertone, ELAC Miracord 10, branded as a Sears Silvertone. And it came with an ELAC cartridge on it, a ST222.
And made cartridges.
Yeah, ELAC made cartridges back in the day. And so I thought, well, okay, I'll see what it sounds like. And I put an album on. I was blown away. It sounded so good. And then I put it on. I went on Audio Karma, and I mentioned that I had it, and people said, "Oh man, that's the Green Monster. It's known for how it'll it'll sound really great." I think it sounds great in that. I'm not going to take it off that turntable, but because beautiful turntable, really cool. But that's some of the older stuff can sound good, and it's not as detailed. I've got a couple of moving coils. I've got the Audio-Technica AT VM 540 ML, the microlinear, which is very good. I've got the 530 EN, which is very good. Those are great. Those are great cartridges. They sound very, very good.
How many turntables can you try out at the same time and test side by side for sound? Just two?
Well, side by side, I can only do two.
Okay.
If I want to do them into the same amplifier.
Okay. Okay.
I've got two set up on. I've got two set, but that's because I've got I'm using on one of them. I'm using a preamp, a phono preamp that has both moving coils, separate moving coil and moving magnet inputs.
Nice.
And just switch with a button between them.
Right.
So
right.
I keep a nice modern FFYX T1804, which is it's a belt drive 60 millimeter platter, 10-inch carbon fiber tone arm, and I've got an AT Audio-Technica AT OC9 EN. I think
yeah.
It's a moving coil elliptical nude on that. Although I could go up for that, it would definitely handle a higher end cartridge. But I'm very happy with that. But that's a really nice turntable. That one is very nice, very, very neutral sounding. But I'll play it, and then I'll play an album on it, and then I'll put it on, on a moving magnet, next to it, and I can tell the difference. There's no doubt about it. But sometimes I'm like, you know what? Not as detailed. I kind of like it anyway on the moving magnet. And sometimes it's stuff like, old Gerards and stuff like that, or old idler drives that tend to have a very warm sound. And I know it's not accurate, but it just sounds good.
But the recording also has an effect on this whole thing, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you remember that these people were mastering for the equipment at the time, right?
Yeah.
And so I swear that sometimes you're going to be happier with a cartridge and I swear you're going to be happier with a period correct cartridge and turntable. Right. Like this Jackie Gleason I was playing on the Type A70, which was that Type A70 was descended from the Type A.
Right.
A little more modern. And I played that on I think I've got about 4 out now. I've been swapping around there on my dining table. I live alone, so I've been swapping 3 out, I guess. I've had the Sansu ASR 525, which is a very nice turntable. Sony PSX 600, which is really nice, and right now I've been playing those and playing and swapping in and out that Type A70, this Jackie Gleason sounds better on the Type A70, but some other stuff doesn't. I wouldn't play my now I'm not going to play my any true audiophile records, but on the A70.
But you're matching the older cut records to older gear, and it sounds fantastic. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah,
total sense.
I played I broke out a Nancy. I love Nancy Wilson.
Yeah,
and I put one of the Nancy Wilson albums on there, and I was just like, oh my God, she sounds.
You would blow audiophiles out. You would blow their minds, like go on to like 45 RPMs and just say, yes, you got this $250,000 turntable, but it doesn't match well with when you take the older records out because the cuts don't match. It makes sense.
They had in mind the equipment at the time, and they were engineering for that equipment.
Right.
That's why I fell in love with Nancy Wilson. I bought a Garrard Synchro Lab 70, which with an Empire cartridge on it, and the guy told me the stylus had been replaced.
Yeah.
And I looked at it. The stylus looked good, but I was not sure about it.
Right.
So I had a Nancy Wilson album that I got in a batch of classical, and I hadn't played it. I thought, this looks boring. This looks like, this just looks boring. So I threw it on the Garrard Synchro Lab 70 with the Empire cartridge, which was a period correct cartridge, but with a good stylus on it, and turned it on. And I started listening to it. I was like, this is just amazing. Then I got for that, I bought a higher end Empire cartridge and put on that, and I put Nancy Wilson. No, wait a minute. I put a Julie London album on, and oh my God, you could have just mopped me off the floor. I just melted. It just, the Empire cartridge on the Garrard with a Julie London album from the late 50s. Everything matched.
Right.
Although the Garrard was actually from the late 60s, but Garrard had a hard time staying up with the times. They were one time, a major, hi-fi brand.
I remember.
And they kept their designs on along longer. But they were also in English. So it's
right.
like, English, their whole design and engineering philosophy can be bizarre, to say the least. Which reminds me, I don't think I've ever known of a French turntable.
No, French speakers, but not French turntables.
I wonder what a French turntable would be like.
We'll save that for next week.
Yeah. I need to find a French turntable, but I'm guessing, high-end French turntable would be like the Citroen DS, a beautiful car. But yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I'd also just encourage people, what are you after? What are you listening to? Yeah, I mean, otherwise for vintage turntables, if they need lubrication, do some lubrication, replace belts, do things like that. And really consider what the Audio-Technica AT10, AT11 series, old series, but man, those things are, you can get brand new styluses for them, and you can get microlinears for those, or vivid lines, which I think are the same. You can get really nice styluses for those, and those can just sound killer. That's what I've got on my Sony PS X600 with it's got a BioTracer arm on it, and I've got that on it, and it's really great for modern stuff, new pressings. It sounds really good for new pressings. So, yeah. So, yeah, when things go wrong with you, it hurts me too. It's that time, children. It's that time when we say to you, nos enfants, nous vous aimons. Vous êtes très joli, vous êtes très intelligent, vous êtes très beau et belle. Et nous disons à vous, nos enfants, au revoir. And be ready to turn it when I'm hitting that O. Au revoir et aussi, nos enfants. À bientôt.